Detroit Become Human, Kimberly Wallace, David Cage's latest masterpiece. Controversial, fair to say at this point?
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that.
Okay. High level, like, what did you think? Leaving the event, did you think this game is blank?
Leaving the event, I felt better about the game than I had a few months ago, which I was kind of cautious about it because of all the stuff that was like going on in the news and stuff with like how they're handling child abuse and all that. So you can't like go away from the elephant in the room, right? But it seems that he wants to see if games can tackle these serious subject matters and if people even want them to. So he's like, the fans will tell us if they don't. He's like, I don't even know if we did it right. So there's a good chance this could like all blow up. And what always makes me very cautious with David Cage games is I love them. I have a lot of fun like making the choices and there's always something funny to do that isn't meant to be funny.
Correct.
This game
His
has
hallmark.
a lot of Cage's like let's pick up and clean the house bits, and
I love that kind of stuff though. Like really, I think the highlight of Beyond Two Souls was like getting prepared for that first date. Like that was an amazing sequence for the little details.
Or failing to drink orange juice in heavy rain.
Always fun.
Yeah.
So you're shifting through the perspective of three different characters. You have Kara, who forms a relationship with Alice, a little girl whose father is down and out, drug using, not a nice guy.
Yeah.
It ain't great, okay? Then you have Connor, who we saw in our demo that we did, who hunts deviant androids, which is in this world, humans and androids look alike, but you can distinguish who's an android by their clothing. And
it says Android on the back, and what I think is a real victory for subtlety.
But they look like us, and so he's like what's explored really. And it's really interesting just walking down the street because you play all three characters you play are androids. So we're talking about Connor right now, who's a deviant and who hunts the deviant androids because some
just
of them
call him a Blade Runner.
All right,
just call him a Blade Runner.
Okay, Blade Runner. Okay, so
thank you.
he finally, what they're noticing is more and more androids are going against their programming and starting to feel emotions.
Would you say they're become human?
Whoa.
Yeah, we are become human.
Yep. They are becoming human in some ways. And so as you walk around the streets of certain characters, like there is all this political turmoil going on in the world. Stuff that we also deal with, but this is like amped up a little bit because how do you think society would be if we just introduced a bunch of robots to do everything for us?
Well, look, this is a deep can of worms and all that stuff, right? But it's that tough thing of like, did it just happen in the game? I feel like in society, there's robots around us now, technically, and it's a very slow burn.
Well,
so the problem, or like where you have to suspend disbelief a little bit with these types of sci-fi games, is like when it jumps ahead and everyone's like, I'm outraged, where it's like, there might have been a little hullabaloo slowly increasing throughout the years with the idea that like, it feels like these people are just entering this world for the first time.
Well, no, because they established that this has been going on for quite some time.
Okay.
And the year is 2038, which is really not that far ahead in our future.
It's about 20 years.
Yeah, I don't know where we'll be, but you can tell like androids have to sit in the back of the bus. They cannot sit on the top.
When I heard that, I rolled my eyes 360 degrees in my skull. That seems like you've established the heaviest of hands for this. Like
they can't go in certain restaurants. There says no androids allowed. Certain like a hotel or stuff.
Jeff Cork lost. Hang on, sorry to interrupt him. Jeff Cork lost his mind. He was like proofing your preview because you guys proof magazines, pages of the magazine.
Yeah.
I don't know if people are aware of that, but there's a lot of that in this office. And so you're reading it, and you just had a moment of like, what? Literally, it's as heavy-handed as they make the android sit in the back of the bus.
I even double checked with him. I'm like, I had an interview with David Cage afterwards. I'm like, I just want to make sure I'm interpreting this right. Are the androids in the back of the bus like segregated? And he's like, yes.
That's where the red pen should have come out. See me after class, David Cage. Like that is so obvious, and it seems like he's not leaving any room for subtlety. Where it's like, oh, I could see this as kind of an allegory for race relations, where it's just like, no, people won't get that, so we really need to drive it home.
I just need to point out Jeff Cork's very funny joke where he said, we will over.com.
We shall.
We shall. Dang it. Okay.
Well,
Still very good.
that's the thing with David Cage. Everything is always very extreme, very dramatic. And this game is no different than I feel like that with his past work. Even going out in the city, because these androids have been introduced and can do jobs perfectly. What does that mean for the economy? It means some people are out of jobs and they're pissed, and they see like their sense of worth and purpose is gone. So you are basically hated by these humans, and these humans do abuse the powers that they have against these androids. I mean, if you want to rough up your android because it pisses you off, you definitely could. I don't even want to know what goes on. But what I liked more about the game than that, like, really in-your-face stuff is if you go around different rooms when you're switching between the characters, there's always like an iPad to read. And so magazines on there, and it gives you little things that are going on in the world, like about climate change really being an issue. And then, like, as I said, my favorite was concerts are coming back because everybody's been watching concerts in VR at this point. I mean, it's just like, it's one of those like weird what if in the future, like how far could we go with technology, and like how far would people go to abuse it? So back to Connor's that second guy, and he has a partner named Hank, and Hank is kind of, he's in charge of the police station, but he doesn't like love androids. He's kind of just like, now I have to deal with you because they paired us. So it's like kind of that kind of relationship, right?
I watched Bright. I get
you get it. All right.
In the heat of the night, basically. Yeah.
And then the last character is Marcus, and I really liked Marcus's relationship with his I feel weird saying owner, but master.
Doesn't it make you think? Doesn't it make you think?
Yeah. Well, with the guy he works for, which is oh gosh, what's his name? Carl. And Carl's this kind old man who just like is like, yeah, humans suck, like they're greedy, whatever. And he really kind of encourages Marcus to break out of like, be your own person. Who are you?
Psst, become human, Marcus.
He's an artist, and he's dying, and so you're administering like his medicine and stuff. But just a really cool old guy. He's like, I want my scotch right now. You know, I'm dying. I will have my scotch. I mean, that's like what I would do. I mean, Barbara Bush did it, right? So
sure.
So it's like the Philip Seymour Hoffman segment in Magnolia.
So you're
interesting.
Yeah, you're shifting through these three perspectives, which all are the most interesting thing are the supporting relationships within there, which I thought were done really well. Actually, that made me understand the world better through like the different variations of these relationships and how people feel about the androids.
Is it Maniac Mansion shifting through these three characters, or is it like you choose which character story you want to play?
You don't choose; it goes in an order. So you'll play a chapter of Connor, then you'll play a chapter of Kara, then so forth.
Okay.
So yeah,
it seems like you haven't crystallized it in this way, but it seems like you're excited about the game. I'm
excited, and I'm afraid Cork's going to make fun of me for being excited about it.
No, that's fine. We're just
here's my thing. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I previewed Beyond Two Souls for us, and I loved because it was a really early build of the game, like
and it
really
was that date scene, which was the best part of the game.
Yeah, the date scene and the party, and I was just like, oh, this is really good. And I remember turning to Miller and being like, if this keeps it up, this could be my game of the year. Like, I really loved Heavy Rain. Like, that's how high I was on it.
Yeah.
And then I played the whole thing, and I was like, what just happened to what I played there? So I'm kind of, because Cage had said to me in my interview, he's like, we haven't even gotten into the meat of what this is all really about. This was just to introduce you to the characters and have you gain some empathy for them because you're in their shoes.
But it's going to be the uprising of the robots throughout.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, androids. With all due respect.
Oh, for sure. And how crazy will he get with that? Like,
you can't get much crazier.
Based on his past games, he can probably take that pretty high.
And Beyond Two Souls is the only Quantic Dream game that I've played, but Cork, I think we have the same level of fascination with that game, kind of a morbid curiosity where it's like, it is such a big swing. And I love that people in the industry are taking such a big swing.
That is what I'm going to say. He likes to take risks, and he always goes big. He never goes small. It's always big. And he's
taking a big swing, but it's like with one of those like plastic T-ball bats. I feel like at times it's like, God bless him for swinging big, but the tool he's using is at times a little blunt.
Well, here's what I thought was the best part of it was I really feel like he's doing something cool for choice in video games. How many times do we sit at this table and be like, I thought that choice would matter. They said so-and-so would remember that. I don't know if they did. Like, it didn't change my ending. I asked them how many endings were in this game, and they said they talked about this with multiple people in the studio. They don't know because there's so many variations between. So after the end of each chapter, you get these flow charts that show you a percentage of what you completed in the chapter and the different branches and paths you can go through. And
that alone is amazing. And just
Yes.
to, like, not have it relegated to some message board somewhere,
Yeah.
people trying to piece it all together, but just for a company to be like, F it, let's just put it in the game. Let's show you exactly
he said
every
he did it
branching
on
path.
purpose because they spent so much time on it, and it was the hardest part of what they were doing. He said you had to like accept a cost in production, and they were willing to do that just to see if this would work and how far can you go with choice and where will it take everyone. But for him, he said that made it like crazy for the writing, and I can't even imagine in certain scenes like whether or not I investigated an item determined whether or not it was an option. You know, you're going down those different paths, and it can become, you know, or where do I pick to stay tonight? Like, what's going to keep this little girl safe? Because you get on the run with her later on, and then you can decide between like a hotel, an abandoned car, abandoned house.
Car. But what's crazy is like we're used to that with Telltale games,
Right.
and even, you know, previous Quantic Dreams games and stuff like that. But if you're just listening to like the audio version of the podcast, and you can't see the picture-in-picture. Like, it's worth pointing out this game looks stupid good.
Oh my gosh, yes.
It's crazy. PlayStation 4
They were
exclusive.
showing us all the stuff they spent doing the tech, and like, you know, we don't really talk about that as much because it's so hard to explain to people like they mocapped and then did this, like, yeah. But it was really interesting to see how they were doing certain scenes and just how in depth it was, and like even close to like the facial hair looks right. So that's hard too to pull off.
On the new gameplay today with that Connor character, it kind of felt like he kind of had a flat affect. Do all the androids speak and emote like humans?
They kind of do have like that flat, like
David.
they sound kind of android, kind of, you know, not. No, they don't sound like humans entirely, but there's like a stiffness almost to it that you'll experience that. I think his is most pronounced, in my opinion.
Okay, sure.
Because
Cork, sorry to interrupt again. Cork, do you feel like you're looking forward to this game?
I'm very interested in it. I like the gameplay stuff. Sounds fascinating, but I've made this mental exercise now where I'm just predicting all this stupid nonsense that I know is going to be in there. And like, I guarantee they're going to have a scene where it's like androids are being hit with fire hoses. It's just going to be like, nothing will be too obvious for this, like as far as building the world, which I think could potentially hurt the game overall, because I think what it's doing in regards to choice is fascinating, but like the world building just seems it just seems very stupid.
Is it a little bit of, I feel like I know this story. I've heard like, hey, the robots, android, analogy to race.
That's what everybody says, is that it feels like something but we're speculating on it because it is such a big part of our lives right now. And we see like, you know, self-driving cars now out that are around. And it's like, what the heck could happen next? So
yeah. Well, speaking of what could happen next, at the title screen it said something about Alexa support for the game. Did you look into that? Do you know what that is?
They just said for the demo, but I'm not sure if it's for the entire game.
So you can play the Detroit Become Human demo through your Alexa.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know how it
God
works.
damn it.
That was not demoed to me, so I don't know how it works. But
okay, that's so bizarre.
But you have to love a passion to just like advance, like take a big risk like this and try it.
Yeah.
Like technologically, they take these amazing risks, but then I feel like the storytelling and writing is the one place where it lacks, just in general with Quantic Dreams games. Like, I just feel like
big picture, small picture, everything.
Yeah. We're obsessed with the whole Navajo sequence
in Beyond Two Souls.
Beyond Two Souls, where
it's
just
incredible.
This baffling misstep where you're just like, what is going on here?
Super expensive 2-hour misstep.
Well, and I remember I really loved Heavy Rain, and then after, you know, it happened, I was like, oh, that's a pretty cool twist. And then I like thought about it and I was like, wait a second, that doesn't make sense. I'm just hoping it's not anything like that here. And there are a lot of places for this to go wrong. They have so many choices branching and, you know, trying to make them mean something. Like in one scene I had, you could either, like, your owner tells you to stand there and you can either stand there and obey or you cannot. And I said, how do you account for, you know, he's like, you always have to think what the player is going to do. Like, are they
Yeah.
going to move? Are they standing? You have to write the variations on that. And even certain relationships change in this game based on. So you're managing relationships and then you're managing choices. I like that scene I had with the runaway where I was trying to find a place to keep. I had a little girl with me. So I didn't want to rob anybody because I thought that'd be traumatic for her for money. Then again, I think I ended up going in a worse situation. Then she didn't want to go in the car. So I was like, oh, no, can't let her in the car.
So you sold her?
No, I went in this abandoned house and I met this like weird guy. And I just have a feeling after I told David Cage what I did, he was just like I didn't do the right thing. But we'll see.
You broke my game.
No, I thought he was just joking. I think he was just joking around with me. But would I play that again and make that choice? I probably would. I don't know, because that seemed like the best choice for me. It's putting you in these high situations, intense situations, and then what would you do? Everybody remembers in Heavy Rain when you cut off the finger.
Yeah.
Because it's like, all right, I'm going to do this. Like, how far would you go for someone you love? All that is kind of tied into here. And my only worry is like, where is the line between, this is a game and putting you in these situations to see what you would do, where it crosses into a way where it's like you're manipulating people's emotions to kind of get there. Like, that's the only thing I worry about, because there is a scene of child abuse.
Yeah. And of all the studios, I just do not trust
it's not,
that studio to pull it off.
I saw it and it's not as bad as it is. It is a little like cliched in some ways and what you would expect. But it serves a purpose for Kara's story and what that does for her and that little girl's bond. So not that I'm fine with child abuse, but I just remember in the scene being very uncomfortable. And like, that's, some people think games, they want games for fun. This is like, do you want a game that, really tests you in these situations?
I love a good mature game. I just want it done in a
he told
delicate,
me
subtle way.
It's something they ask themselves every day and that they like consulted, but we'll see what the end thing. He even said, who knows if we did it right? So, I mean, he's even flat out saying like, I don't know, but like the only way to learn and move forward is to try. And so at least they're trying, and I remember you gotta respect them for that. Yeah,
for sure. And that's one of the big takeaways too from when I interviewed him, even like before Beyond Two Souls came out. It's just like, people take him as this man on a mountain that's laying down this game design principle, but he is very, I don't know if insecure is the right way, but open about like, who knows if this is a good way to design a game.
And I feel bad for him because I feel like he gets ripped apart sometimes because of that. And then sometimes, whatever. We won't go into that, but.
Right. At times, maybe it's fair to take him down a peg or two, but it's a fascinating game. Cork, I hope to play it with you.
Oh, I will absolutely play that with you.
Okay, Detroit
we'll compare our
Human.
choices because you can see in the status like what everybody else did percentage-wise. So.
Really quick.
Yeah.
Did they explain that dad who's down on his luck, why he doesn't sell that Android? Or how does he afford the Android? Like, how much does an Android cost?
He's going into debt. It just costs a lot. You find the bills. There's this good story with it, so I don't want to spoil it. So I'm trying to be careful here.
All right.
But
they're in love.
But there's a lot of drug use in this game too. I was like surprised. Like the drug arc for one character was fine, but when it goes into other characters, so
multiple drug arcs back of the box.
It's gonna just be intense situation, building relationships. How do relationships dictate what you do? Because there's like a distant and then a warm bar depending on what you pick. So sometimes you might do what's right but piss someone off in the process. So.
Ain't that the truth? Thank you so much for watching this excerpt from the Game Informer Show podcast. You can subscribe to the audio version and listen to new episodes airing every Thursday. We cover big games on the horizon, games that we've just reviewed. We have long-form developer interviews, a lot of fun stuff. So check it out every Thursday.